my main takeaway from a few days ago was the fact that like this world right now, we always have the answers so at the ready, whether it's Google or ChatGPT that
everyone's an expert now.
And there's no friction in this world. And I think people are craving this more friction, more tension, things that are just a little bit imperfect.
Tangible.
You know?
Yeah. No, I love that. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Ad Podcast, coming to you from South by Southwest at the Red Thread Collective. We've got Vince Soliven and Andrew Gall, creative leaders and agency leaders at Copacino Fujikado. Thanks so much for coming on, guys, spending a little bit of time with me.
Thanks for having us.
So why don't you tell me a little bit about your shop, tell us about what you guys do, and how's your South by been so far?
Yeah, Copacino Fujikado has been Seattle's longest running independent shop for 26 years and counting, maybe 27 now. And so we're about 40, 45 employees. We've got clients, many different verticals, big ones in tourism, healthcare, CPG, a little bit of everything, honestly. So born from the Seattle Mariners, that was our first client. So we've always collected a lot of local brands, but in the last several years now, it's like brands that are based in Seattle but have a larger presence, and then a lot of clients now outside of the region as well.
Okay, awesome. And tell us a little bit about what brought you to South by this year.
I think we just wanted to be inspired first and
let's
foremost.
go.
Just be exposed to all these different conversations. Where one of our first sessions was a meetup, and just being around non-advertising people was fun to kind of get a different perspective on things. Yeah, especially AI, you know, and those conversations are just really, really good to bring back home, back to the office, because sometimes advertising conversations with other advertising people
gets a little bit of a circular firing squad.
Insular, right? Yeah, and we found just other educators, doctors, scientific people. It's like you think about AI in such a different way. My main takeaway from a few days ago was the fact that like this world right now, we always have the answers so at the ready, whether it's Google or ChatGPT that
everyone's an expert now.
And there's no friction in this world. And I think people are craving this more friction, more tension, things that are just a little bit imperfect.
Tangible.
You know? Yeah.
No, I love that. I was thinking about the fact that this is my first South by back post-COVID, and I remember why I love it. I really do think it's my favorite conference, because there are other examples of bigger conferences that aren't advertising conferences that the advertising industry shows up to. CES, maybe cultural moments like Super Bowl or F1, stuff like that now. But I feel like this is the best conference where the intermingling between, the advertising things and the marketing things and kind of gen pop, if you will, just the people who are here from other industries, from the startup and tech community, or more from just, curious people who want to learn. It's the best opportunity that I can remember where you just kind of, run into interesting conversations and get interesting perspectives from outside of the industry. How do you think we could apply that to the business of advertising more?
Well, I think it's, for us, especially as creatives, it's all about, I think, getting out in the world. And, I think for us, especially as creatives, it's always like you're inspired by the music, the art, the other non-advertising things. And I think that now, especially now that everything is just faster, cheaper, it's hard to get out of that. We're, like Vince said, it's nice to be around other people. It's nice to have a conversation with a teacher and what they're dealing with, because we're just on our day-to-day, we're like, we got to make the thing, we got to get it out. And so I think what's nice about a conference like this, it's always forced perspective, because you're in this, you can escape a little bit. Sure, you got to answer emails and do calls for your day job, whatever. But this is truly a chance you can see things at a higher level. And I think it's not so much that there's this is a big aha moment. It's more that it's either an affirmation or it causes you to think about it in a different way. And I think that's something that we can, when we go back, we'll be reminded of that. It's just get out of our freaking advertising holes that we're always in, and make sure that we're allowing time for understanding perspective of everything else in the world.
So tell me about your guys' talks. What was the talk? What was the topic, and how'd it go?
Yeah, so I was doing a panel with Converge, the guys at Converge, and it was about content influencers and how all that conversation just sort of coexist today. I think one of the main topics was just about how to align brands with influencers, and how do you make sure that it doesn't feel like it's a shtick, or it feels like they're shilling something.
Yeah, NASCAR logo.
Yeah, and yes,
Logo
exactly,
slap.
right. And I think you realize again, it is, we've heard it before, but it's authenticity and aligning things. I like to look at the world like a Venn diagram, right? It's like brand here, conversation or trend or pop culture element happening here. Where do those two things intersect? And I think that's just a true fundamental for advertising. Is like it needs to be relevant in what way that's right for the brand, but also right for pop culture.
Yeah, I love that. I just came from Creator Palooza, which was put on by Shira Lazar. My client Loston sponsored it. And I was surprised, I spent 2 hours in the crowd just listening. And a lot of conversation was about B2B influencers and LinkedIn. It wasn't about traditional platforms like TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. It was talking about how are B2B influencers emerging, really as teachers, specialists, people who can not just deliver audience reach, but also deliver deep expertise and actually move the needle for B2B brands. Wonder if you guys are thinking about that in any of the B2B accounts that you guys work on, if you have B2B accounts.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm really glad you brought up the B2B thing, because we did a campaign a couple years ago for Primera Blue Cross that we called emotional B2B, which is like, what the hell does that mean? But it was...
I'm trying to make them cry.
Yeah, it was probably our most award-winning campaign of the last 5 years. Was Ad Age B2B Campaign of the Year.
That's amazing.
And so
Congrats.
I think
that's
what
a
we're
great
finding,
show too.
Yeah. And so what we're finding in that space, it's like, and we just learned this with Visit Seattle too. We have both their tourism for visitors, but we also have their B2B side. So the meeting planners, people that
the
are
conference
trying to get people to come
planners
in
and stuff like that.
And we launched a campaign last year called Mother Nature's City. We're in the second year of that campaign, and it had to reach both. So it's going to be emotional. So it's more emotional B2B, but it's like, how do you tell that story on LinkedIn?
Yeah. People buy from people, not from companies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so what we're seeing right now is the metrics for that campaign are really good. It's kind of hard because there's a long tail on conference planning.
You don't. It's not a buy cycle where you see an ad and you're like, all right,
Totally.
It's like it's something that you gotta kind of you gotta drip on them a bit.
But then specifically as it relates to B2B influencers, we just did a campaign as part of that where we talked to people. It's like somebody that was putting on like kids sports, events there, and other people from various industries across the board. But the messaging at the end of the day was all the same. Like Seattle has access to all this nature. So when you're done with whatever your thing is, you can get out and experience it. And so, go
to Mount Olympia or do something fun after and that's what I mean. Honestly, for me, as somebody that goes to a conference almost every single week, I'm always looking for the opportunity of which ones can my family tag along, which ones can we add 2 or 3 days. There's this new technology called Navan that makes that really easy for business travelers, where you can basically, do your business trip and then very easily extend to the personal trip. And I feel like a lot of people now are kind of their business travel is intersecting with their personal travel more than ever.
Bleisure, right? I'm glad you mentioned that.
Or digital nomadism too.
Yeah. Exactly. Like what we're finding with B2B too is that, yes, you have to check off all the things, all the R2Bs, it needs to speak to the specific audience, but you're also talking to a human being too, right? So when it comes to clients like Visit Seattle, when they're conference planning, yes, you want to make sure that there's all the flexible spaces, all the things that they need, like hotels, heads and beds, all that good stuff. But if they're going to add an extra day, well, what could you do in that extra day for yourself, leisure? Or what are you going to do at night, when the conference is over?
Yeah, and also, what's the brand of Seattle, and how do other companies want to align with the brand of Seattle? Because a lot of times people are picking where they do their conference based on their values now. Do they want to align with a city that represents the things that they believe in?
Exactly, 100%.
I love it. Andrew, did you have panels or anything coming up on the thought leadership side?
I had an interview Friday with at the Moment Media, and that was more of like a biopic of me a little bit, but it was fun.
Look for it on Netflix soon.
Let's go.
But
let's go.
Again, it's you come down here, you get this affirmation, this higher level where it's like I got to talk about where I'd gone my career path and like balancing work and parenting right now, and it's like that's such a. It sounds like you have kids.
Yeah, I got a 10, 7, and 3-year-olds. So
it's similar but more intense than me. It's
Yeah,
like 9 and 6, and so talking just about how to balance that again in a world where everything is expected to be. There's just more expectation of what we deliver, especially at a small agency, which is great because we're always working on a ton of different things. But it just moves so fast, and you've got to be able to keep up. And so. So that was a fun little interview. So hopefully it'll be on Netflix.
Let's go. So anything interesting on the program for the rest of the week that you guys are really looking forward to? What's on your dance card that's like a must?
What are we doing tomorrow? It's it's a talk on brand identity shifting.
Okay.
And I'm interested in that because, so much of our job, especially from the creative side, is how do you maintain brand consistency? Like, how do you govern a brand and a narrative so that it's consistent? But then, especially in this digital world, social, a brand needs to be relevant, right?
Yep.
So how do you stay true to its core, but also flex to a different space so that you could be relevant at a dinner party. You could be relevant in a comedy show, Where does that brand live instead of just on paper? Like, how can it be a part of
what's its personality
culture?
as it shows up in these different things like comedy or sports or,
Yeah, it's like, I'm normally untucked shirt kind of guy, but if I have to tuck it in, then
we're gonna put on pants for a podcast.
Guilty.
Let's go. So what's the top thing that you guys are taking back to the teams from like a point of view perspective? What are you going to go back to the office and say, guys, here's the 2 or 3 insights that we really want to, impart to you guys and potentially activate on?
I'll say mine first, and Vince already touched on it. It's this idea of bringing back this intentional friction in how we work. And so I think Seattle is very Pacific Northwest. What that means is it can be a little bit more just laid back, non-confrontational. It's a different vibe than if you're working in an agency in New York or Chicago, where we worked for a bunch of years. And I think that especially in our digital culture now of Slack and everything else, it's so much easier to just be a little more passive and be like, okay, we're moving this project along. Here's my feedback. I'm going to respond in a deck or whatever. And
keyboard
part
warriors.
Of that, what's that?
Keyboard warrioring.
Yeah, and that's not, that I
There's a place
want to
for
say
it.
that's how we work.
But the personal conversations and, getting face to face, or what's your guys' policy on return to office so far?
Yeah, so it's a great perk of Copacino is that we're pretty hardcore balance of 2 days a week.
That's good.
It's possible there could be 3 at some point, but
Sure.
Everybody else in Seattle, whether agency or not, are going back to like 4 or 5.
Wow.
And so you're
like
seeing,
on the corp side, like Amazon's going all in, right? Back to the office. Yeah.
So I think there's gonna always be some of that digital communication. It has to be, because we're not gonna be able to be face to face. But I think, and that's part of our philosophy when we're in, because we're leading the agency, we're trying to keep the culture going on those days we're in office. So we're back to back. That's our personal interaction time, right?
Yeah,
and
that's
so
the casual water cooler conversation.
Exactly.
And the opportunity to bring in partners, the opportunity to do culture building, stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we have our whole team is great about that. And I think if you're an agency of our size and you're not, it's like, why would you work there? Would you work there? Yeah. And so I think it's just going to it's going to be continuing to beat the drum of, let's just go figure this out real quick, because the affirmations are clear after talking to everybody here is that the world wants that, and that's going to lead to better work.
I love it. So I feel like in the age of AI, as people are questioning reality as they pop up their social feeds. I just saw another company that did a demonstration of creator avatar. So basically, they were telling all the creators in the room, "Hey, just walk over here, read this script for 20 seconds, and we will build a perfect avatar of you." So you can pre-program videos, write scripts, and you don't have to turn on a camera and do the thing that you do as a creator. And I was a little skeptical when I first saw that this was even going to be discussed at a creator economy event. And then they did a really fun exercise before they actually got into the meat and potatoes of their demo, which is, here are some videos. You guess which one is real and which one was the AI. And I would say it was easy. I got 1 of 3 right, and it was easy that the room was like all over the board, like as far as like ones that was an A/B or if it was a 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, nobody was hitting like 100% batting average. Wow. So in a world where AI can soon be completely no difference as far as video is concerned, how important do you think are things like South by Southwest or experiential, face-to-face brands in hands. How important will that be moving forward, do you think, as we continue to question what we see on the digital front?
It's going to be really important. I mean, so to start off, you know, like my kids now, they tease each other by saying like, "Oh, that's AI," right? It's a put down.
Yeah. My daughter called my son AI.
Yeah, you're AI.
And so it's actually a negative pejorative now.
They're burning each other, you know.
Wow.
But I think the thing is that there is this built-in skepticism of the world now that everything is fake.
Yeah.
So I think the moment that you could show up real as a human, make mistakes, that's when you win. You know, like we've found even with our latest celebrity partnerships. We work with Sue Bird for Symmetra Financial. We worked with Big Dumper from the Seattle Mariners.
Okay, let's go. Let's go.
Partnership with Honey Bucket.
Yeah.
Boom. What a lovely partnership. But we're finding out that these celebrities, you know, or athletes, in the past, they were always trying to make sure that they seemed like very professional, their best selves. They are craving to be more like us now. They want to be more human. They want to be more relatable, and they're willing to put their brand on the line to you know, not take themselves so serious anymore. And I think that's the beautiful thing about this space that we're in right now is we are craving more authenticity, more mistakes. It's okay. You know, it's more accepting because that shows us you're human instead of perfection with AI.
Yeah, I think that's a good insight for sure. All right, gentlemen, if folks at home want to learn more about the agency or connect with either of you guys directly, where would you like to send them?
Don't send them to your LinkedIn. Okay? It's Copacino.com.
Let's go.
Copacino.com.
Long live the
I
website.
accept anyone on LinkedIn. It's an open,
He's a lion.
forum.
He's a lion.
You wanna connect,
LinkedIn Open Networker. Let's go. And go Seahawks.
Awesome.